Welcome to The Aspiring Kryptonians, a podcast for Superman fans, hosted by Superman fans and focused around all things, you guessed it, Superman. After all, we are aspiring Kryptonians. From comics, TV, film and animation, each week we discuss our thoughts on the latest releases, news and even some retrospective reviews. So without further ado, let's get the show on the road. Hello and welcome to episode 16 of The Aspiring Kryptonians with me, Tasmin, and the rest of the team. Ashley.
Hi guys.
And Evan.
Hi.
Here's a quick run through of what we're going to talk about in this episode, because there's quite a lot to get through in terms of comics that we've missed over the past, I think it's been 3 weeks since we recorded the last one. Is it?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
So we've got Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow issue 2, Superman and the Authority issue 1, Superman Red and Blue issue 5, Batman Superman 20, Action Comics 1033, Justice League Infinity 2, and Superman Son of Kal-El issue 1. Yeah, they're fairly old releases, so you'll likely have read them, I hope. But if not, then I'm issuing a spoiler warning for all of them because we're going to go into a lot of detail. So rather than doing it for each topic, I'm just going to issue a full spoiler warning, which I think we pretty much do on every episode, actually.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put that in the pre-recorded part so I don't have to keep saying it. But well, is there anything you wanted to talk about before we go into all the comics? Because I think the notes that I've written are pretty much just comic centric.
Well, how come we waited 3 weeks to do this?
Because I had a baby.
Gasp. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Tasmin.
Thank you. Still sinking in a little bit, and we're still getting used to all the changes and the lack of sleep and nappy changes and whatever else, but we're getting there.
And what's his name?
Cal, of course. What else? No, I pretty much gave my partner a choice between Clark or Cal, and he preferred Cal, so we went for that one. He did have a choice. He picked the middle name.
That's a good man, that is.
Yeah.
He picked the middle name, so which is Owain, which is a Welsh name for people. Well, it's a Welsh saint that drove all of the English out of Wales, which I probably shouldn't have accepted considering I'm English myself, but hey how.
Best of both worlds.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll get stuck in then. So Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow issue 2. So it's written by Tom King with interior art by Bilquis Evely and Mateus Lopez. So we'll start with the covers because the first one I was trying to get all the comics ready, but I've been underprepared and now they're all over the shop. But yeah, the first one was by Bilquis Evely and Mateus Lopez, and it's just I love it. I love their artwork style. It's just really unique, and yeah, I think it just works well with this kind of story because it's like a bit of a fairy tale, medieval kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
What do you think of the covers?
I love Bilquis. Her stuff is great. I mentioned last time that I've kind of known about her for a while, just from my other podcasts. It's great stuff, and yeah, her style is perfect for this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's really interesting how she does Supergirl's face. It's much more like refined European than we normally see. Yeah. Like with her straight edge nose. And yeah, it's not my mental image of Supergirl, but I like it. It works well for this story that they're telling.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, and the subject matter of the first cover is great. It's them on a alien bus stop.
Yeah.
Fun idea. And there's like a tiny little like Pinocchio alien.
Yeah, a lot of details
on the bus stop with them. That's funny. Yeah.
But yeah, and the
variant. Is the second one by her as well?
No, the variant one's by Lee Weeks, but it's by Mateus Lopez as well. So that's probably why it's kind of similar, I think. But yeah, it's another solid cover. I think Ashley, you mentioned in your review that it's got Star Wars vibes, and yeah, I instantly got that from that cover.
Yeah, and the vibes as well, like it, and it goes into the issue as well, you can definitely tell that Tom King is world building. He's populating this galaxy, full of the citizens of the galaxy. Not just our heroes and our villains, but people commuting to work, getting from A to B. These spaceports that our heroes are finding themselves in. They're full of people. Commerce, travelers. Perhaps travelers that aren't so experienced. It's like Grand Central Station or Victoria Station here in the UK. Just people going about their day to day, and you find that through the whole of the issue, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, there's a lot of attention to detail in terms of like the detail, because even with the bus stop cover that you were talking about, she didn't have to go into that much detail with regards to the alien designs, but it really works. It's good. But yeah, this issue is very wordy. And I think you always mention that Tom King's sort of writing is quite wordy, which usually I don't mind, but this one kind of stuck out a bit for me. But yeah, it does allow for a huge level of detail when it came to the insight for, I don't know how to pronounce the name. Is it Ruthier or Ruthie?
Ruthier, I think.
Ruthier.
Sounds right. Yeah.
But yeah, just, I don't know if you can hear the baby crying in the background. Yeah. Sorry. But yeah, it kind of reminds me of, it just reminds me of the Indiana Jones style thing. I think I could see this sort of made into that kind of film, which I quite like. And I like when they're sort of in the bar, taking a quick break from the bus trip, and then you got all the aliens that are dribbling on Ruthier and stuff like that. That's quite fun. Yeah. But yeah, what did you think of the issue?
You know what? I'm looking at it now, and I'm realizing I did not finish reading it. This is gonna be the second time this has happened. Yeah, I got to the part with the space dragon, and I did not finish it.
Best bit.
Yeah.
Oh well. Ashley, what did you think?
Yeah, so like I said, lots of world building. This, definitely feels like a galaxy that is full to the brim of all different species and, people going to and fro in. I definitely loved that whole sequence with the space dragon. That was by far the most exciting bit of the issue. Absolutely phenomenal. I mean, the colors in this thing was incredible. I liked how the space dragon appeared on the cover, very subtly as well, like a little precursor to the interior. Like you alluded to, a really wordy issue again. Ruthier, it's all Ruthier. She's obviously chronicling their journey, her feelings, her emotions. She's still obviously conflicted because she's going out essentially to kill someone. And, killing someone, I can imagine, it's not an easy feat, be it if you're a professional, like perhaps a soldier, or, someone who does it by accident. It's something that weighs on your conscience. And you get that a lot. She kind of compares herself. I think she's found a kindred spirit in Kara because they've both lost a lot. And obviously Kara being a bit older and a bit more seasoned and understanding who she is a lot more than what perhaps Ruthier is at the moment, that comes across a lot as well. So Tom King is definitely paying a lot of attention to Ruthier and their connection for sure. So I'm liking it. It's not my favorite comic on the stands, but I look forward to it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I like the whole thing between Ruthier and Kara because, like I said, they've gone through the same kind of thing, but I like how they've completely managed the situation differently. Like Ruthier's obviously gone for the kill, and Kara's just like, well, she's obviously bothered, but she's not gone for revenge.
Yeah, she's learned to live with it.
Yeah,
which I think is like what a lot of people, who come across loss, you have to learn to do. And yeah, she's obviously taken a different path to Ruthier, and I'm under no illusion. I don't think Ruthier is going to go through with it in perhaps issue 7 or 8. But I'm enjoying the journey and her sort of inner battle with this kind of decision that she's making.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like talking about the Tom King's writing and it's wordy and stuff. I'm of surprisingly the opposite opinion because I am not a fan of his usual stuff. Like I'm not a big fan of his Batman stuff and all the narration and whatever he puts in there. I don't think it's just it wears on me when I read it, and I just skip all the narrations. But I've said it before, I'm loving this. He's writing a novel, and I think it's the genre shift that we're in, where it's more of a fantasy thing, and we're coming at it from Ruthie's perspective.
Yeah,
it's real. I really like it. Like the part where she's just like, she spends like 3 pages talking about how stinky the guy is.
Oh yeah,
right, exactly.
Yeah, right. Like, so I think when we were talking, Ashley, that wasn't your favorite part, but I liked it a lot. I thought it was great. And then talking about commenting on what you said about how Kara has come to live with, her thing, and she wasn't out for revenge. Well, she kind of covered that in the Rogel Czar saga, where she's like, she really is out for revenge. and she kind of got closure with Rogel Czar's capture and his trial or whatever. And then one last thing I noticed here is to fight this dragon, and she's obviously depowered a little bit. She pops that pill.
Yes.
Which is a red kryptonite pill, which gives her new abilities. And so it was cool because she gets fire wings, which goes back to the early 2000s when Supergirl was an angel for a brief period of time.
I remember that.
With fire wings. Yeah, and so that's a part of her mythos that they're calling back to there. Very interesting.
I haven't really.
It's worth noting that wasn't Kara, that was Matrix, who was Supergirl at that time, but still.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but I think this is the only, the first solo Supergirl title that I've actually read, which is quite shameful considering I've read a lot of comics, but it's all they've all been Superman so far, but yeah. It's nice to know that there are some nods to the old comics and mythos, like you said.
To be fair, Supergirl's ongoing series in the past have not been great. So
I've heard. I've heard a lot of that. But yeah, I'm going to read through it just to say that I've read it and I know where she came from, kind of thing. But yeah, the whole she always seems to be underestimated, despite the fact that she is technically the oldest of the two, like Superman and Supergirl. And she was actually sent to protect Superman, of course. But yeah, you got the alien who sort of claims revenge for what Superman did to his brothers. And yeah, she's part of the whole Superman family, but it would be nice to see her sort of stand alone and without being overshadowed by what he's done in the past or what he's gonna do, if that makes sense. It's the ones that I have read, well, not many, but the comics that I have read where she is in it, and the series as well, there's always mention of Superman, and it's like she's kind of I know she is an add-on of the character, but do you know what I mean? It would be nice to see her stand alone, but she just seems to be underestimated sometimes. And I'm sure in the comics, well, even in some of the TV series, she's beaten Superman a few times in battle.
Well, certainly in Supergirl, right?
Yeah, she definitely did in Supergirl. But I'm sure there's a comic or something where
there is. In the mid 2000s, that was, I think, the first comics where they were like, she might be more powerful than Superman, which to me doesn't make any sense, but it's a direction to go in. And I think it would be cool though if she, like Robin did, crafted her own new identity apart from the Superman like symbol or the Superman family. She became her own kind of superhero. Because I think that would really help her stand out and become her own thing. It's kind of like if she became like a Jean Grey type of person, became Phoenix, and she's a totally new sort of character on another level than she was when she was in the X-Men. I think that'd be neat.
Well, that's kind of the vibes I got in this when she starts fighting the space dragon. She's got the wings. That's the vibe I got from that. But I don't know what she's normally like in comics. Obviously, you say that they're not normally that good of Supergirl comics, but I don't know how ballsy she is in the other comics. But in this series, she is very cocky, and I really like that.
But very much depends on which iteration you're reading, because she's just always going on a roller coaster of I'm Supergirl, and then I'm Supergirl.
She definitely seems more seasoned in this interpretation for sure.
Yeah, I love the line where she's like, "So if I'm not Supergirl, then who the beep am I?" We don't really know what they say, but I'm assuming that it's a bad word.
I thought it was funny. I was listening to an interview with Dan DiDio, and he was like, "Yeah, we got to do something different because we're on the third darkening of Supergirl." Oh. And I thought that was like, that's hilarious, because it is. It's the third darkening of Supergirl. Very funny.
Yeah, I wonder what it is about the character that people just don't seem to get right. If there's so many bad versions of her in the comics, like what is it about the character?
I think they really lean, like in one of them, like when they first brought her back in the mid 2000s, I think they just really wanted to shake that stigma of like, oh, Supergirl, she's nice and sweet, and
demure kind of thing.
Yeah, they just really made her like super. This is probably not the correct terminology to say, but butch. Like she just was like, just very. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but that's the only term I can. That's the only term I can put with it. But then in recent years, they flip flop from going the super nice, version like in the TV show. I think more lean towards she's more nice and kind and everything, and then they've leaned into she's really got some PTSD from she remembers her planet and it's been destroyed. And so I think that is a really interesting way to take the character, but then also it really leans into the Superman type of character she is, where she's able to rise above that and still become this really empathetic person.
I'll look forward to reading those versions of the comics. You have to let me know which ones they are so I can skip the other ones. But yeah, I think there's a lot of swearing in this issue, well, the series as a whole, I think, or well, it's not physically typed in the issue, but we know that is a swear word. But I went to New York Comic Con, well, it's probably a few years ago now, but Tom King was at a panel and he was exactly the same, so he was just constantly swearing through everything, and they had a swear count on the screen as to how many they were trying to get him to not swear, but he was just not having any of it. So it's clear that he's the writer, and I kind of like that his personality, I guess, or traits have gone into it. Yeah. That's quite nice.
I mean, I'm surprised they didn't make this a Black Label series, to be honest with you. I mean, why not, really? I mean, he's worked at Black Label before. This seems to have the same traits as a Black Label book, so why not?
I don't know. But yeah, the artwork is amazing throughout. Every page is, well, especially in I'm going to call it the Phoenix page, because she kind of gets the wings and fights the space dragon. That's just, it's beautiful. The artwork's lovely. But the second half very much focuses on the relationship between Kara and Ruthie, which I thought was quite sweet, where she's kind of teaching her how to wash her hands and stuff. Like the basic things you think a kid would know. Well, I'm assuming she's sort of like at least 12, which she should know how to wash her hands. But yeah, it's quite sweet. And I was really, really enjoying this issue until I saw what happened to Krypto. And it put a downer on it all for me. As you know, I love Krypto, the super dog, a little bit too much. And yeah, I know they're going to try and find the cure for him at this point. But yeah, it was just sad to see him like that. And it's any animal, but yeah, I don't know. I always think Krypto's a bit underused or just thrown in for added measure. And I feel like that's the case for him in this series. Like he's just thrown in there to be, well, he's in there, but he's off pages, if that makes sense. He's not part of it. He's just part of the storyline rather than part of the series itself. But I hope he plays a much bigger part going forward.
Agreed.
I think we've already
I said, I didn't read the second half, so I didn't get that.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Spoilers. I issued the spoiler one at the start. It's fine.
Yeah, you're good.
We'll go on to Justice League Infinity 2, which is written by J.M. DeMatteis and James Tucker, with art by Ethan Beavers and colours by Nick Filardi. Evan, do you want to take the lead on that one? Because once again, I have not read this issue.
The Justice League Infinite?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, so we look at the front cover here, and we see that there's that Superman that we were left with at the end of the last one, who calls back to the Superman from Brave New Metropolis, which is an episode of Superman the Animated Series, but here they've labeled him Overman. And I really like this cover. I like the stylized versions of the character. I like how like Wonder Woman and Batman and Flash are a little more skinny than they usually are, and then you've got Green Lantern, Superman, and Martian Manhunter are real like bulky. I kind of like that style. And once again, it's not the same style as inside the book, because inside the book it's very, very reminiscent of the cartoon show, which is great. We get to see some flashbacks from the episode The Return, which is one of the greatest episodes of the Justice League show of all time. It's so good. Superman gets in that episode, Superman gets an upgrade of his spacesuit, and I'm a fan of the alternate suits that he gets to wear. Like I want underwater Superman, I want space Superman, I want summer Superman where he's got short sleeves.
And he's got the S shaved into his chest hair. Is that
what I do like a shirtless, hairy Superman. I think that's like they did a lot of that with Dan Jurgens in the that's when he's intense. I like that. So anyway, it's we find out that Superman has actually been physically swapped with Overman. So they've swapped places in their universes. And we find out that the Earth that Overman is from is not the same Earth as Brave New Metropolis from Superman the Animated Series. It's a variation on that. And Superman actually acknowledges this. And so does Lois. You're like, you're not the same guy I remember from when I met a person who looks like you. And the Earth that Superman is on, that Overman is from, is it's like they've merged the Brave New Metropolis world and the Savage Time world. If you've ever seen the first season finale of Justice League, it's Vandal Savage has gone back in time and given himself foreknowledge during World War II. So he has usurped Adolf Hitler and become the leader of the Nazi Germany and has won World War II and has taken over the Earth. And so that's what has happened here. Except now, Vandal Savage was the person who found Superman's rocket and raised Superman from a baby to become Overman, who is the leader or the enforcer of the Nazi party here in this new Earth. We get a lot of references to current social issues in this issue. And in my review, I think I mentioned, to me, it's a little bit rushed and over the top at some points with that dialogue. But again, I think it's because we're trying to tell the story in how many ever issues we have, 9 issues or whatever.
I can't remember what it is, but yeah.
And there's no time for a natural, gradual progression, especially if you're wanting to touch on those issues and put your stamp on it and say, this is my belief about these issues or whatever. Everything that Superman's saying is true and right, but it's just like, this doesn't seem as nuanced as the show when we touch on the social issues in the show. It's very just right there,
anyway on the start.
So we get to see Brainiac in here, and this is a new version of Brainiac that we've never seen depicted in the animated show. It is reminiscent of the Brainiac depicted in the Legion of Superheroes television show, which is not connected to the same continuity, but it's kind of cool that they've referenced that.
Mm-hmm.
Back on regular Earth, Overman is attacking Lois, and it's cool that we get to see Lois fight back a little bit. She's got a kryptonite gun.
Oh,
she just has one. So I don't know. Maybe Superman gave it to her.
Yeah,
and
just in case he annoys her or something. Instead of sleeping on the sofa, you get a kryptonite bullet. Like,
yeah. Yes, so I'm pretty sure he says, he
does.
Cal gave him the gun. It's interesting. She calls him Kal and not Clark. So I'm still wondering. It's never been made clear if Superman has ever revealed his secret identity to Lois in this continuity, and it's seeming like he has not. So it's like they're like officially dating. It seems they're on first name basis. But he's not like. It's very interesting. I've never seen that before in the comics, except for in the old like Silver Age stuff, where Superman and Lois are officially an item, but he is not revealed.
Yeah, that seems a bit. That's a lot of deceit there, isn't it?
Because in the modern comics, where they, in the modern continuity in the comics, she never officially dated Superman. She officially dated Clark for a while without him revealing the identity. And then he revealed that he's Superman. But here it seems the opposite. She's dating Superman, and like maybe on like the rehearsal dinner, he'll be like, "Oh, by the way, I've been Clark Kent this whole time."
Yeah.
Surprise.
Also, I love how you remember each and every episode of all of these animated shows. Like you got the titles, everything that happened. Fair play.
Yes, this was my first continuity that I really dove into and memorized, more so than the comic books. Plus, it's a lot shorter than the comics continuity, so it's a little easier to remember everything. And I've seen every episode of this continuity multiple times. So,
I still need
especially the animated series stuff is like a dozen times at least for each episode.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yes, we are seeing later it's revealed that Overman knew a Lois Lane in his own Earth and fell in love with her, and she joined the resistance to the Nazi Party. And so because Overman is more loyal to the Nazi Party than he is to his own feelings, he, like, as soon as Vandal Savage says you need to kill her, he kills her without hesitation. But it still affects him because he really loved her. But of course, the Nazi Party is more important than love.
It sounds a lot darker than I expected from an animated series. I know it's like a follow-on, but it's...
Yeah, and actually, I think I said in my review, this would be actually on par with some of the backstories we've had in the animated series. They haven't quite spelled it out most of the time in the animated series, but from visual cues and subtext, you can tell what's really happened. And they've had to do that because of the censors on network television.
Oh yeah,
like they want to tell these dark, emotional stories, but they've had to like beat around the bush and let you figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
Than actually spell it out. But
I guess because kids are watching as well, they probably don't want to drum that into them. So it's kind of drip fed, like I said, for the adults to see. So if someone who understands and knows about all the history and stuff watched it.
Well, you've had dark characters before, and I think I mentioned this also in my review, like the Justice Lord's timeline, what happens to the Flash, what happens to President Lex Luthor in that. It's very grim and also very, emotionally impactful. And you have Annie from that Clayface episode in the Batman the Animated Series. You remember that, Ashley?
Yeah. Is that Feet of Clay or you?
No, it's another one. It's Growing Pains.
From, yeah.
Yeah, with Robin. Right there. And then what happens to Tim Drake in the Return of the Joker movie? Ooh.
Well, that was dark.
Yeah. They have an unrated version of that movie.
Yeah.
And that's the version I think that is like widely released nowadays. because they couldn't do the original version for kids. It's dark.
Sounds pretty dark.
Anyway, Martian Manhunter gets back into it here. He's going back to being a hero. We still don't have any answers about his wife from the animated show that he's apparently abandoned, or maybe she died. I don't know, but I want some answers. And then we get some very interesting stuff. Superman is teleported away. Apparently, it's on the same Earth that he was on, the Nazi Earth. But we meet some of the Resistance, and we've got Metallo, who is a female and of African descent. We've never seen that in this continuity. I don't think we've seen that ever in general. So that's a completely original character. And then we have Doomsday. We have seen Doomsday in this continuity before, but this is a new version, and it looks like a combo of Doomsday and Clayface.
That's right, yeah.
And then we see General Zod, who is a benevolent resistance leader. We have never seen General Zod in this continuity. They've never had a General Zod in the animated shows. They had Jax who was the stand-in for him. He had an eye patch and a goatee, and he's basically the General Zod version of this continuity.
I wonder why they didn't use General Zod then, if they've kind of used the look and stuff.
I don't know. I think it might have been because they're trying to distance themselves from the Christopher Reeve continuity at the time. It was 1996, and the most recent continuity had been either the Christopher Reeve, and then they went with that continuity for the Ruby Spears show, which was the show that right before the Superman the Animated Series. So I think that was why they wanted to stand out a little bit and be unique. And same thing with Lex Luthor. Their Lex Luthor was a very different take from the Ruby Spears Lex Luthor, who was is a combo of the Gene Hackman and the millionaire Lex Luthor. He's a lot more charismatic and jovial than serious and plotting. But anyway, we have Lex Luthor, or not Lex Luthor. We have General Zod here, and he's got his classic costume. It's very interesting. It's classic, like his, he's got like the general hat, but he still has the underwear on the outside, and the jack boots. So yeah, very interesting stuff. Not much else in way of the fun Easter eggs of the continuity that I love so much, like we had in the last time. But yes, it looks like whatever Amazo has done is fracturing reality, and more crazy stuff is happening, and we're going to see more, reality incursions or whatever. So I'm very interested to see where they take it.
Yeah,
I like it.
It sounds really good. I've got all the comics in my subscription, so they're ready to go when I do finally get to it. But yeah, I don't want to jump in from there. I need to watch it all first. Maybe we can do a run through of each episode that I watch, or it'd probably be more than one episode if we're recording every 2 weeks. But yeah,
I'm here for it.
Yeah,
me too.
I'll watch it with you.
Yeah, we'll do that then. Sounds good.
The 17th rewatch.
I like how you counted how many times you've watched.
I don't know how many it is, but it's
probably more than 17. Okay, on to Batman Superman issue 20, which is written by Jean Luen Yang with art by Ivan Rice, Danny Mickey, and Sabine Rich. I like this one. Again, I'm glad they went back to the whole Western theme. It just feels like an Elseworld story within a story, which it kind of is, because you've got all these alternate realities and stuff. But yeah, I just want to get to know more about the Western thing, because I love it. I love the whole traditional, I like the way they've adapted the Superman and Batman costume to fit the traditional Western theme. I think the attention to detail there was great, and yeah, I'm all for seeing Superman on the back of a horse. I think it's just cool. It just looks cool. But yeah, what did you think about this issue?
I loved it. I am actually surprised that the run has lasted this long. I thought it was only going to be sort of like a 4-issue maybe, but it definitely seems to be going on to like the 6. This is the 6, right? or it's not going into 7, is it? Because I know the story is ending, or the run is ending soon.
Yeah. I think the next issue is the last one.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, this was a great issue, and like you said, I love the whole Wild West kind of feel as well, and I like how each character that we're meeting from the various worlds are coming along on the journey. So Alana came, and now El Diablo is sticking around as well, and they're all in the good fight. They're all fighting side by side with Batman and Superman and Robin. So I'm really enjoying that. You know, they're good guys, and you know, lead us to where the fight is. We're going to go as well and join you guys. So I really like that. I'm not the biggest fan of Etrigan, I have to say. I'm not too familiar with him, but I love the iteration in this issue. He's awesome. He is the evil incarnate, and to see R10 kind of bargaining with him, and for Etrigan to be using his rhyming techniques to kind of get more out of the deal than what he wasn't going to get, and then he gets what he wants. So he's like, "Yeah, let's just burn the world of tomorrow down to the ground." So yeah, it's a really great issue. This is definitely more of the action-packed issue than what we've been used to. But yeah, it's brilliant. And yeah, like in the issue that Evan was just talking about, Lois again, badass Lois.
Yeah.
You know, she's standing toe to toe with Etrigan and she's not blinking.
No, that's the Lois Lane we know and love.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I wouldn't even be mad if they introduced more. I know it's obviously too late and there's no, well, we've only got one issue left, but more Elseworld kind of things, because we kind of went into different worlds where we saw Alfred as Bane, and I can't remember some of the other changes that there were, but it just seems that they focused on the Western one now. And yeah, I don't know, I just would have liked to see a few more wild and wacky ones, a bit like the Western one, but hey ho. And I like the whole seeing Superman pulling a train with the chains.
Yeah, I
love that. It's like a whole tribute to the whole as powerful as a locomotive saying, which was quite nice. And the 2 double page spreads by Ivan Rice were seriously impressive. Like every time you looked in a different corner, you noticed something different. It was just amazing, the attention to detail and the artwork there. But yeah, I'm not familiar with the demon Etrigan. I don't even know if I said it right, but I'm not familiar with him at all. But yeah, he's pretty, like I said, he's pretty evil.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that I like about this is that they're using characters that maybe not so familiar, you know, and Etrigan is probably kind of straddles the line between, obviously fanboys will really know him, but maybe more casual viewers not so sure. So I like his inclusion in this for sure.
Yeah. Evan, were you gonna say something then?
I didn't read this one.
Oh. I noticed you were very quiet.
Yes, because I don't like Westerns.
Yeah.
And I don't like Etrigan.
Oh.
So I was like, I'm not even gonna read it.
Just skip the issue.
Yeah. Not for me, man.
But yeah, so obviously Etrigan's here and he first swoops in to terrorize Jimmy and Lois, which first of all, he's got a set of gooners on him. I don't know what the best way to say it, but yeah, fair play to him. He obviously knows how close Superman is to Lois, and the fact that he goes straight for her says a lot about the kind of person he is. And I love seeing him breaking into the fortress with ease, pretty much, with the massive key, which is quite nice to see, to get the world's most powerful weapons, which is an army of robotic supermen, which I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out, because that final page was pretty badass. But I also love the moment where Jimmy is, obviously Lois and Jimmy are being, not attacked, but terrorized by the demons in Etrigan, and Jim is like apprehensive to use his Superman signal watch because he doesn't want to impose on Superman or be a bother, which just makes me laugh because it's typical Jimmy. And it's just a whole lot of wholeheartedness in all of that chaos, which is quite good. And I love how they're still doing the whole film cells thing. I thought to begin with it was just going to be in one, like to start with, just to set the tone of the story. But the fact that they stuck with it throughout is pretty impressive.
Ivan Reyes as an artist to be on this kind of series, because we've seen this in the past where a series kind of, it comes in with a lot of fanfare, big writer, big artist, and then it eventually kind of like, fades off, and eventually it gets cancelled or what have you. But this has been a series that's really had some really good creative teams on it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna really be sad to lose this one, because Ivan Reyes, in my opinion, is like, for a long time he was like Mr. DC, working on Justice League and Green Lantern, superb talent. And I'm gonna miss this one.
Yeah, I've only been sort of familiar with him since he was on the Superman run with Brian Bendis. So I'm fairly new to him, but he's already one of my favorite Superman artists because his work is amazing. But yeah, I'll be sad to lose this one as well. But I think it could have definitely done with a few extra issues where we could have explored all these different worlds a little bit more. Because in some parts it does kind of feel rushed, and I don't know whether that was planned. I don't know if the story's gone how they were planning, or whether it's been cut short and they've had to sort of make do with the issues that they've got. But yeah, it's been a good one.
Agreed.
Evan obviously doesn't agree.
I've enjoyed the run up until they started the Western stuff. And I was like, oh.
I mean, if you put a Western on the TV, I won't watch it. I'm not a fan of Westerns, but I just think having Superman and Batman in that situation is just, I don't know, I love it. And
I think for pop culture as well is, I mean, that whole time period, I mean, obviously it was visited in Back to the Future, and it's such an iconic time period, and it's such a distinctive time period as well in terms of like architecture and engineering, and I love a good Western.
Yeah.
Stick Tombstone on, or Unforgiven, and I'll be there.
Okay, we'll move on to Superman and the Authority issue 1, which is written by Grant Morrison with art by Mikhail Yanin and colours by Jordi Belair. Well, we've seen the cover, as Ashley is modelling for you there. I've seen it so many times just for advertisement purposes, but I'm still so impressed every time I see it. I love Superman's new suit. I love the look. And we've obviously got a bit of a tease as to, I think they're new members of the Authority, or some of the new members. They've changed the lineup a little bit, I think. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the covers?
I really like the black and white one. Like the pencil, either it's charcoal or something, or it's really great where it's Superman in profile.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say what black and white one. Yeah, that's the that's the variant by Jen Bartel. Actually, hold on.
I wonder what she's getting.
I have them.
There it is.
Oh yeah,
that one.
Beautiful.
Very cool.
Yeah, they're expensive. It says $4.99 on the cover, but it's not $4.99. It's talking about $25.99. Yeah, that's my favorite one too. I love the 3 sketch. I think in the notes we talk about, well, all the issues there are issues of the comics that we're going to talk about today. So I've mentioned them all in there. But yeah, it's an impressive side profile, and I'm a big fan of Jen Bartel anyway. She did those Superman was it Puma trainers, which sadly were a little bit too expensive for me. But
yeah, do you know what? I actually saw an advertisement for something. I think she's got some more things down the pipeline with some sports brands. So I'm looking forward to that for sure.
Yeah, she's doing some Suicide Squad ones.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but we've only seen teasers on what it is. We haven't actually seen the design yet. And the Birds of Prey ones that she did as well, they were amazing, but I could not find them anywhere. Anyway, back to the comic. Yes, there's 2 variant covers, which is the one that we've just talked about, and then there's another one by Brian Hitch and Alex Sinclair, which is like a more vibrant look at the new Authority lineup, and the kind of charge into battle but you can't see who they're charging towards just yet. So in this one, Superman seeks help from Manchester Black to truly start making the world a better place. Like this whole thing, because it starts off with he's talking with the president, JFK, and all that sort of stuff, and they're kind of telling him to take a step back. When it could, is that right? Because I feel like
he's asking him to be more involved.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Yeah. He's like, get more involved, do more stuff, actually shape the world instead of just being a fireman and putting out fires.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know how, but I got that completely the other way around, and I thought it was going to take a step back. I was like, that doesn't sound like Superman, but hey ho. But I like the fact that they've included like real life figures like JFK, and there's mention of Martin Luther King. I think there's mention of King Arthur and stuff in there too, which was quite cool. But yeah, I just thought this was a great sort of start to a brand new series. I know it's only a mini series, I think.
Yeah, it's one of four.
Four issues. Yeah. But it's a great setup, and it shows us sort of a slightly new take on Superman, which I thought was quite refreshing. He seems like he's willing to take more risks to get what needs to be done. He's a little bit older by the looks of it, and the grain in the hair, which I quite like, and he's got a new look. But he obviously has those key characteristics of Superman that we know and love, like all the good and the hope, and that's all still there. But it's just a slightly, I don't know, it just seems like an older, wiser, a little bit more battered Superman to me.
Yeah, for sure. Because he even mentions in it that his powers aren't what they used to be as well. So it'd be quite interesting to see when this is set.
Well, I think it's definitely an Elseworld, because I mean he's active in the very specific 1960s. Like they've very specifically placed him in a period of time. Whereas in, usual comic continuity, it's just like this. It's whatever's current, that's where he's he's 30 years old and wherever he's current. So,
well, I don't know though. I don't think it is. Well, the whole losing the powers thing could be linked to what happened in, I can't remember if it was Superman or Action Comics with John, because he was losing his powers slowly from that, wasn't he? I think
but he's not in the 1960s talking to JFK, so I think it's definitely like they've got a specific time and a specific vision.
Yeah, but then he talks about King Arthur as well, because
and that's something Grant Morrison does, where in the past with Superman is he really loves that Silver Age stuff, and so like in the Silver Age, Superman is going back and hanging out with King Arthur, or whoever. So like in All-Star Superman, he's got this unspoken history with Samson and Hercules, that we've never heard of, we've never been shown, but it's very reminiscent of something that would have happened in the Silver Age comics. And just by saying that it happened. And so here we've got the same thing with like King Arthur's. Like, I've fought with 2 King Arthurs. Okay, Superman, whatever. Sure, we'll go with that. So, that is one thing that Grant Morrison does that I like, where he puts in that retroactive continuity that we have no idea what he's talking about or where it's from, but just by mentioning it, like, oh, there's untold adventures that we're not privy to.
But then there's another reason I think it is linked in with continuity, and it's not Elseworld, is because there's been preview pages of Action Comics. I can't remember the issue number, but one of the upcoming Action Comics where the Authority and it's this new lineup is in Action Comics at some point.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So I don't know how or what happens, but that kind of brings me to think it's kind of linked, which I hope it is, because I think it just makes the whole thing wider. And I think it kind of, a lot of people are moaning about the fact that they've replaced the Superman title with the Superman son of Kal-El, and it's like less Superman, and they're slowly drowning him out, which I don't think they are at all. But yeah, it kind of just adds an extra Superman storyline in there for what we're missing.
And I hope it's not part of continuity.
Well, in this, they mention, don't they, like the Justice Society of World War II. They also mention Minutemen. So I'm thinking this is Grant Morrison playing it loose. I think they're giving him a bit of free reign, and he's kind of touching base upon multiple kind of aspects. It could be in continuity. Then mentioning Justice Society kind of suggests maybe pre-New 52 continuity. Minutemen, that could be like a little loose hat and tip to sort of like the Watchmen kind of franchise. So I think it's Grant Morrison having a bit of fun and acknowledging the greats and what he's sort of probably been influenced by.
Well, and to me, when he's mentioning the Justice Society, that it's very much, to me, I think Grant Morrison is trying to put in, like, he's trying to craft a very specific history of the 20th century in whatever story he's telling here, because you've got the JSA in World War II, and then 20 years later, now it's the second generation with the Justice League in the 1960s with JFK, and now fast forward to whatever year we're in now, this is going to be the third iteration of a League of Heroes, where it's elder depowered Superman and Manchester Black and whoever else they're getting. What do you guys like Manchester Black?
I don't normally, but I did in this issue.
Why don't you like him normally?
Because it just seems like a piss take on the British. It's the way I don't know anyone that talks like that, and I don't know. I was never a big fan of him, and I think even in the Supergirl TV series, it's not for me. Not a character that's for me. But sometimes I do mix him up quite easily with Constantine, and I think that's because they have very similar cockiness and personalities. So in my head, sometimes, well, especially in this issue, I was reading him as Constantine rather than as Manchester Black, and then I realized, but it wasn't so bad in this.
I agree. This book felt very British to me, which of course, obviously, Grant Morrison being Scottish, the Authority being, created predominantly by Brits, back in its heyday, like Brian Hitch, Warren Ellis, Frank Whiteley, Mark Miller, they all worked on the Authority. It's always felt like a British kind of, there's always been like Britain sewn into this kind of team. And it felt very British to me, this issue, for some reason, probably with the inclusion of Manchester Black as well.
Yeah, and I think the dialogue in this, he does sound like a genuine, sounds like it could be a genuine Brit rather than just sort of exaggerated. Which, I think it's not just that character, it's sort of any British person in an American film. I find that it's usually exaggerated Brits. I don't know anyone that particularly speaks like that, but apparently even when I went to America, I sound like Mary Poppins, which I most definitely do not.
I like Manchester Black. I think he's a neat character. I especially like his motivations typically, because typically his motivations are, I want to decredit your worldview, Superman. So he like goes to extreme lengths to get Superman to murder somebody. And I think that's a really just interesting, like, he's attacking Superman in a way that most villains do not. He's like, I'm attacking your morality rather than you as a person.
I like him as a character, but it's just the way, it's the dialogue that annoys me about him, the character and like his intentions and stuff, but that's good. And there's a animated film which is
Superman versus the Elite.
That's it. I watched that not long ago and that was really good. But again, the dialogue in that was terrible for him. I thought. It's just my opinion.
What did we guys think of the suit the Superman sporting? I think we touched upon it in a previous episode, but I really like it.
Yeah, I love it. It's like a modern take on what we're used to. I like the gloves. I think the no cape works quite well, even though it's kind of a signature Superman thing. And he just looks kind of a bit more tactical, and I think that works well with the fact that he's losing his powers, and it's probably not, if he's not flying as fast as he normally can, his cape's obviously not going to be flowing, as just going to get in the way, isn't it? Like Edna says in The Incredibles, no capes. So yeah, I like it.
I think it's cool. it's a nice like alternate future take on Superman, and like I like how you can pick and choose your favorite, you know, because they've got like Superman Beyond, and they've got Kingdom Come Superman, and now you've got the old white beard Superman that we're seeing in the current future state stuff, you know. So yeah, I think it's neat. I have to reserve my judgment till I finish the series, I think, because depending on what they do and depending on if it's continuity will greatly depend on how much I like it. So,
and it's funny as well. Is the second Kingdom Come suit appearing in regular comics at the moment, because obviously Green Lantern is wearing the beginnings of his suit in Kingdom Come. Are they trying to tell us something?
Maybe.
I know.
But I've seen a few people on Twitter say this, and I don't know what it is, but because it's like an older version of Superman, he's probably the most attractive comic Superman I've ever seen.
The Silver Fox Superman.
Yeah, I don't know.
The Reed Richards Superman.
Yeah.
And he's got the stubble.
Yeah. It works. But yeah, I like how Superman puts Manchester Black to the test, and obviously he's got a lot of history with Superman, as he kind of mentions, and he's like, why are you asking me to help you with the past that they have? And a lot of people would have written off that relationship based on that, but he's putting a lot of trust in him, considering it was during the Phantom Zone breakout, and he literally is walking off as Superman's opening dealing with the Phantom Zone thing. So I wasn't expecting him to come through, to be honest, but obviously glad he did. Yeah. And then we also see, go on, Evan.
I was going to say, I do like how, Manchester Black's just complaining at every turn, like every single thing Superman does. He's like, yeah, sorry, I made the executive decision to let you keep your ability to walk. Sorry, it inconvenienced you a little bit, caused you a little bit of pain.
That's a typical Brit thing, just moaning about everything. Maybe that's why I like this one. We've got that bit, and then we've also got this another threat, which I guess they haven't really shown completely who it is yet, but they've kind of hinted that they have a history with Superman. Who are your guesses as to who that is? Because my first thought was Mongol, but he seems to be around quite a lot at the moment, so that's kind of why, another reason why I thought it was linked with Action Comics, because the villain in there is Mongol as well, and he does kind of, we only see sort of, is it an outline or something like that?
We do get to see a bit of flesh. He's a bit wrinkled up. Definitely alien. I probably would have gone for Mongol as well, actually.
Yeah,
I really hope it's not.
Yeah, I feel like he's around quite a lot at the minute in comics, obviously in Action Comics. But then that could be another reason for it to sort of cross over and be part of, sorry Evan, but part of continuity.
I'd really like them to do like a deep cut, villain that we haven't seen in a long time.
That'd be
I don't
cool.
know who that would be, but I'm interested to see who it's going to be.
Yeah, but it's the artwork as well. Mikhail Yanin is amazing. And I watched the San Diego Comic-Con at home, the DC Superman panel, where it was him, Tom Taylor, Philip Kennedy Johnson, and Grant Morrison speaking about their plans on Superman. But that also made me think that it is linked, because they're all kind of talking together about how they've worked with each other to figure out these ideas and stuff. But Mikhail Yanin was basically saying that he's taken his favorite bits of Superman or eras of Superman, like Kingdom Come Superman with the logo, and he's kind of thrown the design together based on that, which I thought was quite nice.
Yeah, he's got the new 52 belt.
Yeah, so he's taken all the bits of Superman that he likes from all these different eras, which it's nice. But I'm already pretty invested in this series. Like I really enjoyed that first issue, and I'm looking forward to what's to come.
Agreed.
Action Comics 1033. So written by Philip Kennedy Johnson with art by Daniel Sampere and colours by Adriano Lucas. And I'm going to go into the covers a little bit because they're amazing. The first one is by Daniel Sampere and Alejandro Sanchez, and I think it looks like a film poster to me. Like it's
great.
Yeah, it's just epic. And yeah, it's full of detail. Yeah, I love it. Can't fault it. And the first variant is by, I love saying his name, Julian Tortino Tedesco, and I love it. It's my favorite cover of the three, but it has a plethora of different Superman from all over the years, which is quite cool. It's like a real tribute piece, and as usual with his work, it's very realistic and full of detail. And the second one, which I have here somewhere, I'll just put it down.
Yes.
Is a different side profile of Superman. One's darker than the other, by Jen Bartel, which is, I like that they've done a kind of set, so you have to collect. Well, it's annoying, but it's good that they have a set of covers which you have to collect all of them, and they're seriously overpriced, but they are very nice, and worth it in my opinion, because me being a sad collector that I am, it's worth it. So once again, there's a lot going on in this issue, but I feel like it's just making it more epic, and it weirdly doesn't feel like there's too much going on, even though there actually is, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah. So first of all, we've got Amanda Waller, who sent Task Force X. Actually, I've got the Task Force X t-shirt on.
Nice. Yeah, I wonder why they put those characters in this book at this particular time.
Yeah. So she sent those agents to get intel or steal the Genesis fragment from Atlantis, which obviously causes a drift between the two parties there, but also causes a bit of a distraction for some of the members of the Justice League in their meetings. So you've got Batman and Aquaman in particular, who are trying to prioritize that over what's going on in War Worlds, and obviously Superman has something to say about it, because lives are at stake. And I liked his little speech that he did. It was very Superman-like, but yeah, I liked it. And speaking of Superman, considering this is an Action Comics title, he wasn't actually in it that much. Did you notice? He had two little speeches, and then he sort of diffused the situation, which was very tense. But even though they were small parts, they were pretty epic, and I think the rest of it was all to do with storytelling and figuring out what else is going on. And just to mention the artwork on that part, the page where John, Superman, and Supergirl arrive to diffuse that situation is just beautiful. You got the light shining behind them. I don't know, it just reminds me of the scene in Batman versus Superman where the family is sat on the top of the roof. I think they're in a hurricane and they're reaching out to Superman, and he's like hovering in the sky. It just reminds me of that, which I really liked. Yeah. I don't know if that was their inspiration, but that's what it reminds me of.
The image is really cool. It reminded me of the Kingdom Come, the first appearance of Superman in his suit, where he first returns. But this moment in the comic book gave me some pause, because we've already had in previous issues of Action Comics, people having a problem with Superman declaring himself basically the king of the earth, because he's representing Earth to the United Planets. And here he's like, sorry to sovereign nations, if you do something, without our say so, you're going to be in trouble. And it's like, I understand he's trying to diffuse this situation, but they've had whole arcs in the 90s runs where Superman is really wrestling with, should I impose, my strength on the world stage to prevent people from fighting?
Even in the Brian Bendis run, I'm sure that there was a whole bit where he said when he set up the United Planets that he would just speak for Earth, and then all the reporters and that were like, who says you can speak for Earth? So it's still obviously clearly going on, and that was really recent as well. So I don't know, I didn't pick up on it, but
I'm hoping they'll address that and not just leave it as a plot point that, no, this is what Superman's doing now, because America gets enough flack just for being quote unquote the world police, and now Superman's doing the same thing. So it would be very interesting to me if this goes by without commentary.
Yeah, and I'm sure with all the attention to detail that PKJ has put in, he's probably not just left it there. It's probably something to do. It's going to be more important later on, I'm sure. But then we also get to know Thaular a little bit more. It is Thaular, isn't it? Or
yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, I keep getting mixed up between her and I can't remember. Oh, do you know what? Never mind. Baby
No,
Brainiac.
I think you nailed it. Yeah, no, you got it.
But yeah, I think she's fascinating, and I'm enjoying getting to know her a little bit more. And obviously, especially now that we know what her initial motivation was, because she was kind of under the hand of Mongul, and she's been sent there purposefully, which we obviously didn't know before. And the whole moment where Lois overheard and interrupted that moment was epic. That I love that bit. She was a complete badass in that, and her reaction to the war zoons, despite what she's just overheard, is, you know, that's, you got to commend her for that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes, because she's obviously going to, well, Thaular is obviously going to sort of join forces with the House of Al, I think, on this. But yeah, looking forward to where that goes.
I do like that, you know, they're making this girl's trauma very realistic.
Yeah.
You know, Lois is trying to reach out, gives her that Kryptonian toy, and she immediately, you know, like freaks out and breaks it, you know. And it's just like a knee-jerk, you know, reaction because of what she's been through. And
she says later on that she didn't mean it as well, didn't she?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, the pure trauma that this girl is under, and the subjugation that her people are under, the way that they just refer to them as slugs, you know, it's very harrowing. And to see this poor girl, you know, she's lived such a hard life, and, you know, doing what her tormentors want, what her captors want, it just goes to show what kind of life she's led. This is by no means an easy route for her to take, but it's the only route she's got. This is what she's known her whole life.
And the reverence that they've given to their chains, which are literally a symbol of their abuse, you know, they're showing reverence to their abuse, you know, so it's like, it's a very, you know, deep psychological damage that's been doing to them.
And I hope, as a character, I hope she sort of stays or lingers somewhere and appears, not just in this story arc, but in other story arcs going forward.
I mean, this is the most vile interpretation of Mongul I've seen. You know, I mean, in recent like issues of Superman, you know, like the Bendis run, you know, he was a bit of a jobber, you know, coming in, get beaten by Superman, you know, getting beaten by everyone. I think he even was getting punched out in the first issue of Naomi.
Well, that was Mongul's dad.
Yeah. So, I mean, the whole lineage of Mongul has been pretty much not taken lightly, but this is the most vile interpretation of Mongul I've seen. You know, this is a guy that is just awful.
Yeah,
you know, and I want to see him get whooped. And like Superman, as you both touched upon earlier on, he's definitely got vested interest in this. And it's almost like, you know, he obviously is in the Justice League and respects the Justice League, but at the same time, but the family are going to deal with this. Like, I hope we can come to some type of resolution, but if not, the family will deal with it. You know, talking about the House of L. So I do like how, at the moment, the House of L are a strong unit. They are like a house.
Yeah.
And like, you've got this kind of side group that he knows, well, if you guys can't deal with it, we're going to deal with it. So,
to be fair, they're probably the best placed as well.
Yeah, exactly.
What did you guys think of the Warzone guy who does the ritual sacrifice?
Oh yeah,
it's all about indoctrination, isn't it? It's just literally Mongol has just got his claws into everyone, and he's making them do anything he wants.
Well, these guys kind of seem like they want to do it, like they have no regrets.
Like this is basically like a baptism. Like he's, you know, they're doing a ceremony. He's getting ready. He's like, this is an honor, and then the dude just rips him in half. You know, it's like,
I mean, surely there's better ways to sacrifice, and I've seen plenty Viking programs to know that there are better ways to do that.
Yeah, but don't you think Action Comics feels like the book at the moment? Like this feels like the title. Like, I feel sometimes in the past, action has taken a bit of a backseat, you know, but this feels like the main event at the moment. This feels like the book to pick up if you're a Superman fan.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And well, we haven't talked about it yet, but Superman, Son of Kal-El, I think that's going to play quite a big part as well. But yeah, the artwork in this issue, I cannot fault it. Every character looks great every time they're on, I was going to say on screen, but on page. And I love that Lois has purple eyes. Like the attention to detail there is quite nice, because obviously Lois wears a lot of purple. And there are some moments where PKJ sort of lets the artwork do the talking in this issue. And I think sometimes when writers do that, sometimes it kind of takes you away from it a little bit, because you haven't got their narration, you're making your own sort of story in your head based on what you're seeing. But in this case, that's not the case for this. But yeah, I'm just excited to see where the story goes. And like I said before, I did see the preview page with the Authority introduced at a later issue, so I'm hoping, and well, I'm looking forward to seeing how all that links in, because yeah, I really think it's gonna, I don't think it's a coincidence that they're all sort of back, because the lineup's so different as well. And the lineup that, well, who's the original Authority?
So what, Midnighter, Apollo?
Because I'm sure, I don't know if I've got the issue close by. I don't think I have.
Well, on the cover, there's definitely Midnighter on the front, and Apollo is on the front, and Steele's daughter, Natasha Irons, on the front.
But she's not normally in the Authority, is she? Natasha Irons?
No, not as a rule, I don't think.
No, but yeah, anyway, so it just seems like a coincidence to see the same lineup in both, if it's not going to be linked.
So continuity, you say?
I do. Possibly. Evan's shaking his head for those not watching on YouTube. Okay, we'll go on to Superman Red and Blue issue 5. So Ashley, are you good to take the lead on this one, and I'll do the name call, and then you can take it from there for each of the...
I am indeed. I've got my laptop with me just in case, because this was a very thorough issue. I think probably my favourite of this run.
Do you know what I think? Well, not as a whole, but some of the stories in this one were
the first issue. Favorites. Well, the first issue, well, what can I say about the first issue? As soon as I read it, I thought of you, Tasmin. Fetch.
Oh, yeah. Hold on.
You mean the first story?
Oh, yeah. I was going to say.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, the first. Yeah, so Fetch, which is written by Judd Winnick with art by Ibrahim Mustafa. Yeah, this is my favourite one.
This was literally about a young. Well, this was a really layered little tale, really, because obviously it touches upon sort of like loneliness and, you know, feeling like you can't quite connect with people. And, you know, Clark is obviously dealing with this in a very unique way, you know, obviously due to his heritage. And he's got this kind of sense, he's kind of got this feeling, and lo and behold, a ship comes crashing down to Earth, not too far from the Kent farm, and who's inside? Krypto.
Yeah,
Krypto.
I love this one.
And we get a really beautiful, little bit of backstory with the AI built into the ship. It's Jor-El, a younger looking Jor-El in a great riff on the Superman costume, I might add. Really loved that. And he's talking about how Krypto and Clark bonded back on Krypton before it exploded. And yeah, this is just a really beautiful little story about one boy and his dog.
Yeah, it actually brought a tear to my eye when I read it, because it was just really sweet. And yeah, but not just based on that, but in general anyway, I'm definitely getting Kal a puppy when he's older, if my current pooch allows for it. But this just reminded me why I wanting to have one. But yeah, the artwork's great too. It really suits the story, and the way, I know it's just a dog, but the way that he draws Krypto is, even as a pup, is just really sweet.
All the mannerisms, just from like the waggling of the tail, just the little nuances, the little movements, the little, you know, little facial expressions, beautiful.
Yeah, I loved it. But go on.
My favorite part of the story is that they've made Krypto make sense. That
he's got a role.
Yes, because he was the test subject to see if the rocket and the path for the rocket was good. Because I'm like, and that makes sense to me. I'm like, that's a good reason to have a specific rocket that you've built for your dog to send to another planet. You've built the rocket for your dog and not your wife.
Yeah.
You know,
so it makes, I wouldn't be testing on my dog. I'll be sending something else.
Right. But yes, it makes a lot more sense here in this story. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And actually ties into one of the latter tales in the issue as well. Yeah, she'll find out.
Yeah. So then the second one is De-Escalation, which is written by G. Willow Wilson with art by Valentin Delandro. Go on.
This tale blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. This is set, I'm going to go ahead and say it's set in the Richard Donner Superman sort of Superman universe. This is Christopher Reeve as Clark. He obviously goes into his local store, or sort of like local bodega or whatever you call it, and he comes bumbling in. He knocks the same spinner rack over that he does every day. He's really putting on the whole kind of like laying it on thick, the whole sort of Clark Kent persona.
Yeah.
And he talks to the young clerk behind the desk, and she's like cramming for an exam and whatnot, and they have some really beautiful exchanges. This is all about Clark seeing the best in people, from all walks of life. Perhaps you're someone who's having some self-doubt. He'll see the best in you. He'll talk you out of it, and he'll make you see what you can achieve. And then this issue really goes the opposite, and he comes into contact with someone who's going to rob the bodega.
Yeah.
And this guy is clearly, having a rough time of it. He's not a pro. He's not a career criminal. He's just a kid that's down on his luck and is trying his luck. And Clark steps in and is just a complete cool customer. And as you say, de-escalates the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, like I said, all about Clark seeing the very best in people.
Yeah.
Whoever you are, you're never too far gone. And I think that sentiment is valid now more than ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love the whole thing between Superman and second chances. Like, he doesn't just write the person off, he always offers them an alternative. And obviously, and there was a real sweet moment at the end where the shopkeeper gave him a Superman teddy, which I thought was quite sweet. Little does she know that it is Superman himself, and obviously little does the guy, what the criminal, know that it's Superman himself. But yeah, it was definitely Christopher. As soon as I saw it, it was Christopher Reeve for me. And
kudos to any artist who can capture likenesses like that. Because this was just sensational.
Yeah, and even you got the artist who's taken inspiration from that, but then also I think G. Willow Wilson has taken inspiration from that as well, because of the mannerisms that he's got, like bumping into the shelf over and over again every time he visits. I think that's a very Christopher Reeve Clark Kent thing to do, because obviously the different iterations of Clark Kent and versions, he's sort of less and less bumbly, isn't he now? Especially in Superman and Lois and stuff like that. Yeah, I thought that was quite sweet. The third story is called Your Favorite and is written by Joshua Williamson with art by Chris Sprouse, Cole Story, and Hi-Fi.
Yeah, this is a great little tale again. This is much more visual than sort of like dialogue driven. This is just Jimmy Olsen being interviewed, as he should be. Is he a Pulitzer Prize winning photographer? He's got to be by now, surely. And he's just being interviewed, and she asks the question, what's your favourite? What is your favourite picture of Superman that you've taken over the years? And it's a beautiful recount of Superman's greatest moments that Jimmy has captured on film, and immortalised for all time. And we get some really nice moments, from sort of like the death of Superman, all the way to the House of El run, you know, John Romita Jr.'s most recent run. And it's brilliant. I love it. I love to be reminded of, you know, Superman's most heroic moments, and the way this artist captures the art, that artist of that time's art style is amazing. You know, just the
even in such a little box as well, isn't it? Because it's just
and
little
it's
picture.
the iconic, you know, like the iconic Superman cape billowing in the wind, you know, for the death of Superman. It's just a bit of material, but yeah, it's so distinctive, and this artist captures it in its full glory. So yeah, this was a really nice issue, really nice story for sure.
Yeah, I think this obviously isn't the strongest story of the issue, but it is a nice one. And yeah, I like the little homages between, obviously you got Superman racing the Flash and stuff in there as well. Things like that, which was quite nice.
You got Hank Henshaw again, and you've got Connor Kent. I'm loving that these writers and artists have some deep love for the death and reign of Superman story. Great stuff.
Yeah, I think it's been sort of mentioned quite a lot, because there was don't ask me which issue or which story it was, but there was one where they showed Superman in the black suit just after he's resurrected. There's been quite a few little nods to that sort of storyline in this series. But yeah, I like how he obviously eventually settles on, it's more of an experience rather than a photo, isn't it? Because he's taken the perfect photo to find that he's then left the cap on, and Superman reminds him of that, and that's typical Jimmy Olsen. So I think, well, Joshua Williamson's captured both personalities perfectly, and and I don't know, I'll never tire of seeing Superman and Jimmy sort of sitting on the rooftop together. I love that. It's quite nice.
The art in this was very crisp as well, very clean, where the previous issues were sort of a lot more like lived in kind of environments, you know, from the bodega to the Kent farm, very rural, very rustic, very sort of lived in, you know, very claustrophobic. This was much more crisper, cleaner. I loved it.
Yeah. Yep. The fourth one is titled Red Sun, and it's written and illustrated by Mark Buchanan with colours by Lee Luffridge, I would say it as. I'm not sure if it's pronounced properly, but yeah, go for it.
Yeah, this was, well, as I said, this ties in a bit to the first story arc, where they've obviously created a ship for a test subject to travel to Earth in. This issue, this story is not very long at all. It's only about 3 or 4 pages, double page spreads, and this is Clark's journey to Earth in outer space and all the perils that, you know, dwell in the DC universe, even at that period of time where it was still a very fledgling universe, where it hadn't been established yet. You know, there are sort of like intergalactic wars going on. There are big monster fish in space. You know, this is a very inhospitable galaxy for, you know, such a fragile object to be flying through. And this is pretty much chronicling Clark's journey from Krypton to Earth, and you've got the most beautiful exchange between Jor-El and Lara. You know, talking about, discussing what is happening, you know, and this is very much, Lara is not complicit in this. You know, this wasn't an easy decision for either of them, and this really comes across with Lara. You know, this is a mother that is mourning. Even though her child is alive, she's still alive. She's in mourning for the relationship that she will never have. And she's in mourning for her child and the unknown that is going to greet him when he steps out of that ship. And this was just a beautiful, beautiful little tale.
Do you know what? I'm going to disagree with you on that one. I didn't like this one.
Okay.
I thought it was quite, even though it was very short, I just thought it was a little bit boring. And I think we've seen this so many times. And I'm pretty sure there's been several stories in this series which chronicles the journey of Kal from Krypton to Earth, and I don't think this added anything. Obviously the narration was nice, like I said, but it didn't really add anything unique to that telling. It was just kind of another telling of it. But the artwork was amazing. The artwork made it for me, and I thought that the way that the artist Mark Buckingham did all the designs for the ships and stuff, it was very Man of Steel vibes I got from that, which I quite like that because I love Man of Steel. But yeah,
I did like the very last page where and I like how the Earth is rendered entirely in blue, and they call it the blue dot, which is based on that famous photo of the Earth from like the distance of Saturn or whatever. And that's a very awesome photo, and it kind of paints the picture of that's how Krypton would see this world. You know, they don't have a close up of it; they just know that where it is, and it's a chance. You know, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah,
I liked the palette, the color palette in this, very monochrome. You know, it really captured sort of like the coldness, the desolation of sort of space and whatnot. So I really liked that. I appreciated that a lot. And obviously the ship was vivid red and blue. So
the ship kind of reminded me, I can't remember what issue it is, but you know, the really classic looking ship that Superman comes down in. That's what it reminded me of. And I think that was based on the colors. But considering that it's supposed to be red and blue, there wasn't very much red and blue in this one. Like I said, it was mostly black and sort of grey, silver, wasn't it?
Very muted.
Yeah.
This ship is very, very reminiscent of the New 52 iteration of the ship.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of it's like a really old, I couldn't tell you what issue it is, but I remember seeing it on the cover. There's a picture of Superman in the ship, and it reminds me of that. So the fifth and final story in Superman Red and Blue 5 is Generations, which is written and illustrated by Daniel Warren Johnson. Take it away.
This one was a choker. This one was a real choker. This is probably the most down to earth tale I think I've read in a little while. This is basically a young Jonathan Kent, and he's gone to his local chapel or church, local spiritual ground, you know, and he is talking to the father, and he's basically talking about how he doesn't feel that his very modest life on the farm and in Kansas is enough to sort of open up the world for Clark as he grows older. Am I ready for this? Have I lived enough? Have I lived enough of a life to impart wisdom on my child? You know, and I found this was really very poignant. And the minister's kind of words, you know, just tell him you love him. Just tell him you're proud every day. Make sure that he knows that he's valued, that he's loved. And, you know, as the issue progresses, as the tale progresses, you see Jonathan doing these little things, this little mantra, you know, telling Clark how much he's loved and appreciated. And then you see Clark doing the same, repeating the cycle to the people that he comes across in his life. And it just brought a tear to my eye. It really, really did.
Yeah.
You know, to see Jonathan so vulnerable, because obviously in iterations that you know, the most popular iterations of Jonathan, be it in Smallville, he's very strong. You know, he always says the right thing. He's a lot younger in that as well. So, you know, whereas sometimes Jonathan is portrayed more older, and he was portrayed older in this as well. You know, they were quite getting on in age when they found Clark.
Yeah.
And just to see that vulnerability, to see this man who's like been so certain and so self-assured, and you know has lived a life of like hard graft and a modest life, and to finally look back on it and go, was it enough? Should I have done more? Should I have gone more to more places just to impart more wisdom onto my child? So very poignant.
Yeah,
I love this issue.
Yeah,
this story.
Yeah, this story was really nice. I think it was probably on par with the first one for me. It was just, it was really sweet, and I love the personal tribute at the end to his own dad in this. Obviously, the name he's put in there, but Mr. Johnson. Yeah, that was really sweet, and yeah, it shows where Superman's kind of got all of that empathy and that kindness from, and that way of life. It's obviously clearly came from Jonathan Kent, and I love how he has actually gotten that from somebody else as well. So it's kind of like like you said, a chain where he sort of passed it on, which was really nice.
This is probably my favorite story in the entire run of the comic books of the Superman Red and Blue. This was great, because like Jonathan Kent is just one of my all-time favorite Superman characters. If you've taken him out of the story, you've done the story a disservice. Like, he needs to be there. He needs to be there for his son, and he's the moral rock upon which Superman has built his life, basically. Like, it's the teachings of his Earth parents, not his Kryptonian parents, who have influenced him and turned him into the man that he is today. And so, and then of course, we've talked before, I've got a great relationship with my dad. He's my hero. He's my Superman. And we just this past week had a memorial service for my grandpa, who passed away early in this year. And he just as much as my dad is, he was my hero. And like, for me, he was like the moral, like, that's the pinnacle of benchmark. The aspiration of the benchmark, who I want to be like, you know. And my grandpa reminds me a lot of Jonathan Kent, or vice versa, you know. And so this is a very touching story, and it very much is like a generational thing. This is the same thing I try to do with my kids, you know. Like, I try to pass on those things that I learned from my dad, that he learned from his dad. And it's especially cool because this ties in with a little bit with my faith, because all the things that made my grandpa and my dad great, they stem from that original source of the scripture. And in my headcanon, you know, that is where Superman, where Jonathan Kent and everything, that's where his moral stuff comes out of. And I think there's a level of truth in that, because I think, you know, our understanding of morality in the West here stems from our culture's foundation of that Christian foundation. Because obviously, if we had stuck with like the Roman, you know, version of morality, it'd be a very different society than we have, and a very different, you know, code of morals that we have. So every aspect of this entire story, I loved it. So it
kind of ties in with that saying, doesn't it, about it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, like you have so many people influencing you're not even aware of, because obviously your dad or your mom got it from influences in their life, and so on and so forth. But it's so cool also that they're focusing on Jonathan Kent being intentional. Like, this isn't just, you know, you've hung around me so much, I'm rubbing off on you. He's being intentional. He's saying, I am going to make sure that you know this stuff. And that is just so cool. And then Superman's doing the same thing for the people in his life that he is influencing.
But then I think Superman's doing it unknowingly, whereas Jonathan Kent is purposefully doing it. Yeah. And then
it's instinct.
Yeah.
By now.
Yes.
But it was one of the best stories of the series. But I think for me it was on par with the first one. But that's for pooch reasons.
Well, and I love how some of these, like some of the visuals we get too. Like, I love where you have Martha and Jonathan playing with Clark and teaching him how to walk, you know. Like, we've rarely ever seen that. That's some great stuff in this little living room with his little toy trucks. Yeah, great.
And there's bits where he's like helping the homeless and stuff like that as well, isn't there? So, it's very nice. And I think this is the final I can't even speak, the final issue of the bulk comics that we had to get through. And I've left so I think this is probably the biggest issue out of the ones we're going to talk about, but it's Superman, Son of Kal-El, issue 1, which is written by Tom Taylor with art by John Timms and colours by Gabe Altaib. We'll talk about the covers for this one first, because there's quite a lot of covers for this, and I didn't realise how many covers there were until I really Googled it, and then I think there's about 6 or 7. yeah, there's a lot of covers for this. So the standard cover is by John Timms, and it's amazing. It's obviously a tribute to Superman issue 1, which is a nice touch, and it's pretty much like for like, apart from the fact that it's, well, the Metropolis skyline has obviously been updated, and this is obviously John Kent and as Superman rather than Clark Kent or Kal. So yeah, there's also another version of this cover which I have on the way. I haven't got it yet, but it's basically the same design in that circle but without the yellow design around it, so it's just the whole Metropolis skyline.
Oh, nice.
Cool. Yeah, so that's pretty cool, and I'll show you when it finally arrives. And then you've got the first variant cover, which is by In-Hyuk Lee, and features a younger John, Carrie, and Damian through the sky, which I think is just hilarious. It's a great piece, and I love the expression on Damian's face. I think that's classic.
It's a great cover, but also kind of a spit in the face.
I was about to say, it's very bittersweet for those who aren't fans of the whole aging up John thing, because this is obviously a very younger John. So I'm not sure why he did that, but hey ho. The second variant is by Stephen Byrne and shows John hovering above Earth. It's not the best cover out of the bunch, but it's still a nice cover. And I thought at first
I was gonna say I will shout out Stephen Byrne because he's a cool artist. I follow him on Instagram. He put up some pages that he did just for fun. It's kind of like a portfolio piece of DC heroes versus Marvel heroes, and I thought they were cool. And I put dialogue on them, because I write comic books. So and then he was kind enough to post them. And so if you go on his Instagram or his Twitter or whatever, you can read my words on his art. It's so cool of him to do that.
Yeah, I think I tagged you in that one. I think it was on.
Yes, yeah. Well, because I don't use Twitter ever, and you're like, Evan, your stuff's on Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah, I follow him. I don't think I've got him on Instagram, but I've definitely got him on Twitter. And yeah, I like his artwork. It's sort of quite cartoonistic, which I quite like. It's kind of like caricature of the characters, which is cool. But I thought at first he was kind of recharging in the sun, but then he's kind of facing the wrong way because he's got his back to the sun. Or at least I think it's the sun. It might be another planet. Who knows? And then you've got the Jen Bartel sketch variant, which I don't know what I've done with it. Oh, yeah, this one.
Yeah, it's very cool. Like,
that's lovely.
This may be one of the most realistic renders of John Kent we've had.
For sure.
He very much looks just like a real person.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because do you know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Joshua Orpin, who plays Superboy in Titans.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, here we go. He's actually on the back.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, that's who it reminds me of. And I don't know, maybe that was the inspiration, or maybe it's just a happy coincidence. But yeah, they're great ones, and I think that's probably my favorite of the 3 sketch covers that she's done. But yeah, the issue as a whole, I loved it. I think it was a great setup to show just exactly what kind of Superman John's going to be. Well, what kind of Superman he is, because it was kind of told through flashbacks and then obviously present day. I love the emphasis on the fact that this isn't just, and Tom Taylor talked about this in the San Diego panel as well, this isn't just Superman's son, but it's also Lois Lane's son. So he's already pulling the personality traits from both of them as to how he's going to be a different Superman.
Yeah.
Kal, if that makes sense. But yeah, like I said, a lot of the issue is flashbacks, which I like, to kind of gives us a brief history and another look at John's life and how he became, well, who he is and how he's been influenced.
This was very interesting because it retcons his original origin, which is being born during the convergence on the Flashpoint Earth. And it's cool because we saw it being retconned in continuity with the Superman Reborn story, but we only got like a panel glimpse of what that looked like, and here's the full story of his birth. Very cool. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. And I think for me, it was kind of good timing because I pretty much read this issue literally like 2 days after I had been through the same thing. So I think it just, I don't know, it just resonated with me a bit more in terms of, I love like how Superman was supporting Lois, and he sort of, even though she was going through all of this, obviously the pain and stuff, there was nothing that he could do to help her, so he was kind of feeling pretty powerless at that moment, which we don't usually see Superman sort of feel like that, which was quite, well, not nice, but cool to see.
Well, some very real concerns here about having a alien hybrid kid, you know, with a very uninvulnerable mother, you know. So very heartwarming stuff there, just like them saying, you know, if something happens and something goes wrong here, we both, or she's like, I don't regret anything, because you know, we wanted to have a kid.
But from what we've seen of John as Superman, which wasn't really very much, but it was like a little tease, but he's obviously a very confident Superman at this point, and he uses his initiative quite well and his compassion when it comes to problem solving. And I really like the narration that Tom Taylor did, where we literally, well, we were kind of in the eyes of his thought trail. So as he was thinking things, he was doing it at the same time. So that was quite nice to see, because we kind of got to know how he works a little bit better. So it was shown that was in the bushfire scene, where he helps someone with powers. I can't remember the person. So this person's like, I don't know if he's stressed or emotional, and he's accidentally causing the fires with his powers. And John sort of calms him down, and well, he's kind of let down by the government, who falsely say that they're gonna take care of this guy, and they just, you know, throw cuffs on him and like a criminal, which I think that's probably going to be a bit of focus. I think that's where the series is kind of going to focus on this. This Superman.
The dialogue in that moment you're talking about, where he's just like, just breathe, I've got you.
Yeah.
And he's just holding this poor guy, breathtaking, because obviously his powers are perhaps just manifested, or he's clearly not in control, and that's just so beautiful, the compassion.
And there's no one else that could have done that, like no firefighter or anything could have done that, like getting that close, because obviously the damage and stuff. But that was
at the same time, I can't blame the government for their actions.
You
know, the guy could blow up inside, you know, whatever transport they're using. So,
But I think
great job talking him down, especially when you have the luxury of being able to do that. You know, like why just go in full force when you can withstand, you know, whatever's going on, and you can talk him down.
And he's clearly got that from Superman, because I think there's quite a few moments where I could say Superman, he's Superman from his dad, Kal, because there's several moments where he's done that. There's a lot of moments where he's done that. But we're obviously used to the whole Kryptonian power set, and obviously, of course, the character, which this just feels really new. I think I know it's a character we've seen and, you know, got to know through. Well, I've only sort of known him since the Bendis run, I'm not gonna lie, but I think it just feels really new, even though it's not very, if that makes sense. It's hard to explain.
Well, I think the creative team have gone a long way to sort of to differentiate between Clark and sort of Jonathan, because obviously, you know, the conversations had when she was, you know, in the midst of giving birth, or just prior, you know, Diana and Bruce were talking about, you know, this child is, you know, so much more, you know, it's a child of two planets, you know, two sort of like strong, different, you know, people from obviously Mar and Pa Kent. So one thing I did want to say, when I first opened this issue and saw the birthing scene, I thought, Jordan for a split second. But then obviously exactly what I think one of the things that I like most about this is seeing Tom Taylor and the rest of this creative team, you know, Tim's and is it
Al-Taib, I think.
Seeing them progress, like we've seen it sort of like in front of our very eyes, you know, working up from other books, You know, I know this creative team, except for Taylor, were on Batman Superman, which is maybe a lesser title, if you like to bat around that kind of, you know, sort of descriptive term. But to see them now work their way up to a title of this magnitude, I like that. I really like that. And Tom Taylor's been a favourite of mine for a long time. Such a hard-working writer. He's got about 800 books out at the moment.
Yeah, I can say every time I see his post on Twitter, he's plugging a different...
Yeah, exactly. But to see him build his repertoire up, you know, going from Injustice, then to sort of Deceased, then some, you know, Nightwing, now doing Superman. I love it.
Yeah. Super Sons fans, well, will be bittersweet in this because, well, we still got the relationship between him and Damian, which is quite nice, but obviously it's slightly different because John's older. But I'll keep talking about this panel for San Diego Comic-Con, but they said that Tom Taylor said that the aging up, even though they're aged up and it's different, the age difference between the two is exactly the same. But it's just the other way around, because I think Damian was older before and now John is older.
Yeah, but that changes.
You mean sort of like in terms of mentality, or?
Well, just the age gap between the two, because I think people were worried about the Super Sons, sort of the dynamic between the two being different.
But that's not true. That can't be what he meant, because the age gap is totally different, but it's just the age hierarchy is the same. Because one was older and one was younger, and now it's flip-flops, so the other one is older and the other one's younger. But you still have it's completely changed the relationship, because the great part about that whole thing was Damian was the straight man and John is just clueless. You know, he's just this naive little ditzy kind of guy, and you know, and now it's completely different. You know, now they're both the straight man. So they can say all they want, it's not the same. You know, it's.
I mean, I liked the whole aging up thing. I mean, I remember reviewing those issues. What was it? Probably about 2 years ago. You know, when Jonathan was on, was it Earth 3 with the Crime Syndicate, and the way that he was being abused by Ultraman was harrowing. Harrowing. So I remember that storyline really well. So I like it because he's obviously got scars from, you know, that period of time. He's obviously got trauma from then, but then got picked up, you know, immensely when he went to the 31st century with the Legion. So he's got a wealth of experiences behind him. It's not just he's been aged up. There is experience behind him as well.
Yeah. He's been for a lot. I like the aging up as well. I didn't really read the comics when he was younger, or I didn't read those comics in particular when he was younger. So I've kind of jumped on the bandwagon where he was just aged up and then went off with Jor-El. So that's what I'm used to. So that's probably why I don't mind so much and why I quite like it, because it's given him an opportunity for this whole other. Well, this series, and like if he hadn't been aged up, this series wouldn't have happened, and there'd be a lot of sort of parts of the story that they couldn't have done.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, look at someone like Nightwing. I've been begging for Nightwing for years and years to sort of to move on. And he's one of my favorite characters. He should be one of my favorite characters, but I haven't read a Nightwing book for so long because he seems so stagnant to me, you know, and that's no offense to any writers or creative teams, but I just want to see a Dick Grayson move on, you know, maybe get kids, maybe having an actual successful relationship. You know, his stakes need to be risen. You
can't have him have a successful relationship.
God, he needs it. He needs it, or at least his stakes to be risen. And I feel that's what they've done with Jonathan. I really do.
Yeah, it's just like a different life experience, isn't it? Because from what a kid experiences to, well, I'm sure he's still a teenager, but he's probably late teens.
I'm still not a fan. I mean, they introduced John, and then he's only had like 2 years to be a character before they completely changed him, and it was a great character. Whereas you have Robin, who had 40 years, you know, or more to be the established character, be a part of the Batman family, and then we moved him on. We just needed more time with Kid Jonathan. There was so much more stories to tell. I mean, and you're like the people, they say, you know, oh, we can tell so many new stories. Like, yeah, but there's a billion stories you could have told that you can't tell anymore that we needed to see. And now, so I'm still hoping we get to have our cake and eat it too, and eventually he'll get reset. You know, I'm here for the stories we've got, but we need to put it back in the box at some point. It's too soon for Superman to have a fully grown child. You know,
we're gonna have another one called Jordan.
Please no, please no.
We'll see. Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do, but the way that the people that are working on these books talk about it, I don't think it's gonna be reset anytime soon.
No.
The way Philip Kennedy Johnson is talking is I feel like it will happen eventually, but he's not going to do it in an unnatural, forced way, which I am totally on board for. Yes.
Yeah.
We'll see. Let's see where we are. Lost track of where I'm. Yeah, the artwork is great in this issue too. I really like John Timms. I know you said he's kind of worked his way up through the book. I can't for the life of me remember what book he was working on before, but it was obviously a Superman one, if I know what it is.
Young Justice.
I think Batman v Superman, I think.
Yeah.
He did Young Justice.
Yes.
I didn't read that one. But I know his name from, maybe he did, I think he's done quite a few variant covers for some of the series. But I've been a fan of his anyway, and I follow him on Instagram and Twitter, and his work's great. And Gabe is he's a great colorist as well. So I knew I was going to be a fan of their work in this series because I like them both anyway. And I think they've worked together quite a few times in terms of variant covers and stuff anyway. So we kind of knew what to expect. But I particularly loved the moment during the bushfire sequence. Like, it was so harrowing because it wasn't actually that long ago we were seeing all of that footage, the real footage in Australia, which Tom Taylor is obviously Australian, so maybe that's why he put that in there. But yeah, it was obviously harrowing, but it was really well done. It was so, like, the detail was so intricate, and you kind of feel the heat coming off the page, even though you know the fire wasn't even real. But
Ashley, have you watched the Young Justice television series?
I started to. I don't think I caught up with all of it, but I'm definitely familiar with it for sure.
Okay, because there's an episode in season 2 where it's basically the same thing that's happened in this thing. There's a guy with powers that's out of control, and it's going out, you know, and the Flash takes him down, but it's like almost identical to what we're seeing in this. So it's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, it was definitely a very nice mechanism, you know, to cause a bit of conflict between himself and the military, because obviously, like Evan, like you said earlier on, they've got to protect lives, you know, and obviously this poor person, you know, he can't control what's happening to him, so they're only doing what needs to be done. But Jonathan, obviously, you know, he's still growing, he's still maturing, you know, it's going to take time for him.
And if Jonathan had taken care of it himself instead of handing it over to the military, then, you know, he can handle it. You know, if the guy explodes or whatever, you know, he can handle it in a graceful, peaceful way. But you know, you got these guys, you know, like, unless they have a nurse on station to give this guy a sedative, you know, they need some way to make sure he doesn't blow, you know. So
but yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where the series goes. I think John's got a lot of, well, we've kind of seen John in his confidence, or increase in his confidence, because the first time we kind of saw him thinking about taking on the role of Superman, he was obviously quite apprehensive, taking on such a big job and taking over from his dad. So it's quite nice to see. And I think we're going to explore how he's changed as well, because the John we're seeing as Superman in this, like, he's very confident and he knows what he's doing. So there's a big difference to what we've seen previously.
Yes. Two other things in this comic. One, this has been something that's been happening, and I just think it's a weird choice. Like, it's funny, but it's completely unrealistic, and that's where Batman or Superman is hanging out with Batman, or Superboy's hanging out with Robin, and they're not helping in any way. Like, so Batman and Robin are just fighting hordes of bad guys, and out of courtesy, Superman and Superboy are just like not helping, and they're just having like a conversation. It's like, just help finish the fight, and then go get burgers and have this conversation. Like, you're not helping at all. I just think it's funny. And then the last thing is going back to what we were talking about with Superman intervening in that international incident. The last two lines on this comic is, it's time for Superman to stop fighting the symptoms. You're powerful enough to be the cure. And that is going to spell out some very interesting, some stories in the future, because I do not believe that. I don't think Superman can be the cure. He's one man, and this isn't even the real Superman. Sorry, I said it. He's not. And, if the real Superman can't do it, I don't think John Kent's going to be able to do it. And number two,
but couldn't Superman do it, or did he not want to do it?
Both, because he can try to do it, but if you try to do it, you're just going to be a dictator.
Yeah.
Like, you are taking it upon yourself to, fix the world's problems, and that involves crossing borders, that involves usurping power, it involves unilaterally deciding what is best for everyone, without the voting process or whatever. And so, like, as much as there's those parallels, Superman is not Jesus, like, he doesn't affect people on the soul level. He just is a physical person, so he can't be that cure.
I didn't take that bit as him being like, as not like a dictator. I took that thinking he was just gonna, rather than trying to get people to do good, he was kind of trying, well, I suppose it is dictatorship, but not like put his foot down and kind of force it or enforce it. But
what I'm taking from this is, so Superman, typically he responds to problems, bank robberies, supervillains, whatever. And in other stories, they've explored, well, what if Superman, rearranged the topography of Africa so all the desolate places become verdant places, and you intervene directly in that way, or you go and you take food from one place to another and just get it done. And doing that, it's all well and good, but you're going to have to, if you want to do that, you're going to have to be doing that 24/7, 365, and you're going to have to be doing that without the red tape of bureaucracy of all of the nations of the earth. Because where are you going to get all that food from? Like, you're just going to go take it from somewhere else and place it somewhere else. So it's like, and stopping wars or conflict, and things like that. You're going to have to go in there and you're going to say, no, this stops now. It reminds me of a Superman comic I read one time where Superman does do that. There's these people fighting, I think it's in the Middle East, and he goes and he takes away all their guns. And what do? They just stop and they pick up rocks and they start fighting with rocks.
Yeah.
And so it's like, wow, that's powerful. Superman has great power. He can do a lot, but he can't fix the world. And so I think it's going to be very interesting to explore that. I'm very interested to see how the writers are going to look at this. Are they going to take a stance of, well, actually, yes, he can fix the world? Or is it going to be an exploration of, try as you might, you are not going to be able to do this? It's also, I think, very interesting that this advice is coming from Damian, who is not known for good advice. So I'm interested to see if they'll explore that at all. If, where did you hear this? You got it from Damian. And I literally just read a comic book in the Green Lantern run, where Kyle Reiner becomes all powerful and does exactly this. He tries to fix the world, and Superman is the one who talks to him and says, "You can't do this. You should not be doing this." So yeah, very interesting stuff. I can't wait to see where it goes.
Yeah.
I think with the whole well, if he succeeds in doing it or even if he fails, I think either way it's going to be interesting to see how he deals with it as well. So I think it's a bit of a win-win either way.
It's a win-win for us, the readers. I don't know if it's a win-win for the character.
Yeah,
it's going to be very interesting.
Anything else to say on that one?
I think this is just a really good sandbox for Tom Taylor to be playing in. You know, I think he's known now for sort of like exploring unknown territory, you know.
And he kills off a lot of people as well. So I wonder if anyone's about to lose their life in this series.
He does? I'm not unfamiliar with this.
Yeah. Well, I suppose the comic, it was deceased, wasn't it? And pretty much every character died.
Well, I think you can get away with it for that.
That's it. Yeah, that's
it. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he does anything like that here.
But this is, I'm just happy for Tom Taylor. He's one of the hardest working guys in comics. You know, he's doing this. He's obviously doing Nightwing. He's obviously doing Seven Secrets. He just revealed that he's got another project for DC on the horizon. He's got Dark Ages for Marvel coming out soon as well. So kudos to him.
Yeah, he's working very hard. He's not making it easy for himself. But yeah, I think we should probably wrap it up because it's been about 2 hours. But a quick shout out to our Patreons from the House of L, Dave Owen and David Beasley. Maybe just something about those people named Dave. Thanks for being the Patreons. We really appreciate it. And thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time for episode 17.
Woohoo! Bye.
Bye, guys.
See ya. Thank you all so much for taking the time to listen to this episode and previous episodes in the podcast if you have done so. Remember, if you're enjoying the show so far, please do subscribe, share the podcast with a friend, and most importantly, leave us a review. It's those reviews that really help with our visibility and success, and it only takes you a few moments to leave one. As well as that, if you want to find out more about us, head over to our website www.theaspiringkryptonian.com, and if you want to follow us individually on social media, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and YouTube, so I'll drop those links in the episode description so you can get to know us a little bit better. A very quick shout out to some other very good Superman related podcasts and accounts that we love. The Last Sons of Krypton podcast, the Krypton Report podcast, and Adam Talking Superman over on Twitter. They have some really great Superman-centric discussions and are always dropping great Superman knowledge, so if you are looking for something similar to our show and our account, please be sure to check them out.